welcome to Magical Aspirations, a podcast for magical people where we aspire to gather all of the knowledge magic has to offer, a place to illuminate and demystify all things magical. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Magical Aspirations. We have a lovely, fantastical episode for y'all. We're actually going to be speaking with our death doula. Once again, Lori is here to speak to us about NDEs, near-death experiences, and just getting into the nitty-gritty of what that even means, her experiences, and all of that, and a bag of chips. So, of course, I'm joined by the lovely Reverend Raven and Lisa.
Hello.
And let us get into it. Lori, welcome back.
Yes, ladies. Thank you for having me again. It's wonderful to be here. I'm so honored.
We're so excited to have you. Your episode, I just have to say, your episode was so juicy. I was hooked on it. I listened to it multiple times because it was just like little pieces that you could pull from it each time that you listen. And that's my favorite type of stuff to consume. So
wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. Because like I said, we kind of skimmed over the surface on a lot of it because there's just so much that we can get into. But I'm glad that it was helpful on some level. So wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So ladies, are we ready to dive into this combo?
Yes.
100%. Let's do it.
Let's talk about death, baby.
Oh my I'm not gonna sing today.
That's okay. I'll sing for you.
Fine.
Okay. We'll let you sing.
So I thought it would be really cool for us to bring Lori back here today during spooky season to talk about all things death related.
Yeah.
And
feel it? Do you feel the veil thinning?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very much so.
Yeah. It just feels like every day it's a little bit thinner, and I'm kind of having some trouble, to be honest with you right now, of separating like what are my feelings and emotions and what are other entities feelings and emotions right now.
Exactly. So that just just to remind you that during this time, especially if you're extra sensitive in those areas, just do some extra clearing at the end of the day. Beef up on your spiritual hygiene, basically. Do your clearing, your cord cutting, recall your energy, protective grounding, all that good stuff. Whatever your practice, I'm a big believer in spiritual hygiene. So especially if you're extra sensitive right now.
Yeah, absolutely. While y'all were talking about that, my left ear was just like, just crazy. And I was like, oh my God, what is it? What is this? And I forgot to light my freaking candle. So yes, to,
Girl.
That's here. Little reminder.
Somebody's trying to talk to you in your ear.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Okay. So tell us, NDEs. What is an NDE? Give us the blanket.
Well, I mean, a near-death experience is kind of self-explanatory. It's when your soul leaves your body and you don't transition fully. So it usually happens during traumatic events, when you're under anesthesia, things like that. And of course, during a full transition is when normally we have what's called, like when you do astral travel work or things like that, spiritual work where you actually leave your body on purpose with intention. There's always like a silver energy cord that connects your soul with your body. That's how you make it back. So in a near-death experience, what prevents that full transition is the fact that you still have that silver cord. In a full transition, that cord is severed, and that allows your soul to actually move on through that energetic light portal.
So you have had a near-death experience, correct?
Yeah, I've had a few, but yes, last
A
one.
few.
I've had a
Lori,
few.
I didn't know it was a few, girl. Come on. You hold it out on us.
Yeah, I have a very intimate relationship with death. So I've had, but the one that sticks out for me the most that was the one that was most profound was the last one. I was about 19 years old, and I won't get very specific about it, but I died from drinking too much alcohol. And I was gone for like 3 minutes. Not a lot of people know that. So of course, after this, my my cover is blown. But
spilling the tea.
I know. Yes. So I did drink a little too much alcohol, and was dead for 3 minutes.
Wow.
That was a very particularly difficult one. It wasn't. A lot of people come back and they have this kind of blissful. So each near-death experience is very unique to the person who has it. There are some things that, some themes that run through all of them, like the white light, that kind of thing, that are common, but it is a completely individual experience. And a lot of times people come back, they talk about this blissful experience. I saw my ancestors, my pets, angels. I saw the light, and it felt so warm and nurturing. But what people don't realize is that it can be quite the opposite as well. And that's what keeps people from really wanting to talk about their experiences, especially if they weren't that warm fuzzy. Like mine, for example, I didn't see a light. I didn't see anyone. I was in complete darkness, complete and utter darkness. Now, I was raised a little Catholic girl. And so for sure, I knew I was going to hell. I mean, I thought I was in hell. I thought I was going to hell. And I just, so you can kind of see how that rocked my world from that perspective. So, but it wasn't until many, probably only a couple years ago from now, many years later from the experience, that I started my spiritual journey, and I started to realize that I found out that where I really was, I was in the void. So void is that darkness. It's where everything exists and nothing exists. It's the point of creation. And that's where I was sitting. I wasn't in hell, So, people really need to realize that they're not crazy. Their experience is valid. And, that there are people to help them through, whatever after effects that they have, which can be numerous.
Wow. Were you aware of your physical body at that time, or was it kind of sensationless, I guess?
Right. I know I was not aware of my physical body at all at that point. It was more it was kind of like a dreamlike state, but everything was much more vivid and much more real. Yeah.
And what was that experience like coming back into the body?
Coming back into the body was probably, I would have to say, for me personally, because of the way it happened. I wasn't in like a car accident or anything like that. So actually coming back into the body was more uncomfortable or traumatic. I would use the word traumatic, but it was probably more traumatic than the actual leaving of the body. The leaving of the body was very smooth and very it just happened. But the coming back, it was more of a snap back. Like you ricocheted, like you pulled the rubber band as far as you possibly can and then let it go.
Oh, wow.
It was very jarring. So yeah, like I said, it's different for everyone. There's different ways that people have talked about how their experience of actually leaving the body was. So some people leave entirely out their crown chakra, which is what happens usually during a natural death, during the natural death process. Some people describe it as almost like a peeling away of their skin and their kind of soul just kind of peeling out of their body. People who have had like car accidents, things like that, it's more of a popping out of their body. They can leave out through any one of the energy centers. And it's not always a smooth and easy process. So you can understand how energetically that can cause some issues later on when you come back. So
was that one of the significant moments where you felt like a big like change in your personality, or like did you kind of go back to life as normal?
No, that was a definite pivotal point for me. It was very rough afterwards because I was considered, mentally ill. That was what was put on me because, again, my senses, my gifts, my clairs were just off the chart after that. Like the doors have been blown open and you're not going to put them back on. So I was getting so much information, seeing so many things. I could see, spirits and other energies. I see energy incredibly well now. And it was very hard to adjust because I really had to develop filters for this large amount of information that I was getting. And for years after that, I was considered mentally ill because I was just getting so much information. And when you go around telling people, I see dead people, yeah, that's probably
Yep.
Yeah. So, but again, that was back in like 1993, 94. So it was like day after New Year's. So, yeah. So back then, of course, things have progressed a little bit better with like mental health services and social workers, therapists, things like that. You can find them that are more supportive of those kinds of things. More spiritually inclined these days rather than just the psychological medical aspect, which helps. But there's still a lot of people who experience this and feel like they have nowhere to go, no one to talk to. Their lives kind of fall apart afterwards because they have to adjust to a new normal, whatever that looks like. And that's where my passion for all of this comes in, is I don't ever want anybody to feel the way I felt. And if I can help provide, even if it's referrals to mental health professionals or, other energy workers or other holistic practitioners, dietitians, you name it, I would want to be there and be able to help.
That's a really, that strikes home. In a few weeks here, we're going to be having, interviewing for lack of a better term, like witchy-based therapist kind of. And like, that's such a big, I think that strikes such a big chord for probably a lot of people in this community in general, because a lot of the things we talk about by quote unquote normal society, you could be deemed a fucking crazy person. So it's such a, in just what we dabble in alone, but then kind of on top of that, absolutely. Because like everybody's got such stark visions about what the afterlife either is or isn't. That had to be, I'm just kind of taking in like that had to be extremely hard to think of your classic heaven and hell and think you're going to hell. And then you're in this like black nothingness. Like, God, that must have.
Yeah, I literally thought I was going to hell. And I'm going to be honest. So that brings up, thoughts of, well, if I'm going to hell, I just might as well end it now. Right. So you see, it can lead to some even darker places. And like I said, nobody should have to go through that. No one.
And that makes me curious, especially because you noted the time frame that kind of fell in. What changed, if that's not like too personal of a question, that like things went from a assumed mental illness to like, clearly I know you personally, you're not a mentally ill person,
I think I fall in the normal mentally ill range, but
no more than the rest of us,
Yeah.
So you mean what kind of helped me out of that kind of?
Yeah. What from, that had to be like an incredibly dark place that you were in. And that if you had never told me that, I would never, you're such a light person now, you just kind of emit it. I'm just curious of that, how that transitioned, especially in a time where mental health was so poo-pooed upon,
Right. Well, I'm not going to lie that there were years after that, following that were extremely difficult. I struggled for a very long time. Hospitalizations, suicide attempts, things like that. It was a very long, arduous road. I had nobody really supporting me on the spiritual side, and I really wasn't on my spiritual journey at that point. I was really just trying to figure out even just who I was and what I was supposed to be doing and what this meant. And, the questions were many. And so I think really it was divine guidance, honestly. I really can't attribute it. I mean, I did have some supportive people who tried to understand. But it was really just, I think, I was being guided and protected, and lots of divine intervention. And I don't know, looking things up, doing research. I would bump into certain people here and there, like, yeah, I had the same kind of similar experience. So it kind of started to unravel itself after many years of struggle, fortunately for me. But I really don't want to see anybody else have to go through those years of struggle when it's unnecessary. There are those of us out there that can relate on some level or another. We're not going to judge you for your experience. Your experience is yours, and it's perfect for you, and there is support, there is help. I did figure out some things along the way that help, that work. So, and I'm just here to share that and to be available to whoever needs it.
In the sense of just putting everything out on the table there, what are some issues that other people experience or go through who have had near-death experiences? What are some of the issues that they encounter?
Of course, there's, as I said with myself, the depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, and there's also a fair amount of PTSD involved, especially if it was a car accident or a violent, something, violent causes. PTSD is one of the huge problems psychologically that people deal with. There's personality changes. There's a change in your perspective as far as like afterlife. Your whole perspective can just be turned around in a matter of moments. People's personality change again. Some people are more sensitive to light. Some people are more sensitive to sound. Their sleep patterns change. Just their entire way of navigating the world can change. And that means, again, spiritually, your senses, your gifts, your clairs, you can be getting so much more information that way. And so you're just pretty much on overload in every possible fashion. And yeah, that is kind of an extreme example, but the fact is that it does exist that way. So, people need assistance.
Absolutely. And is there some difference between, I was gone for a minute versus I was gone for 5 minutes or 3 minutes in your situation?
Right. So yes and no. So it depends on what exactly you're talking about. So energetically, spiritually, not necessarily. However, you're also talking about a physical body now too. And you're talking about, time without oxygen to the brain. So we're also talking about neurochemical changes in the brain. We're talking about some sort of, brain cell death in some instances. And some areas of the brain are actually, it dumps neurochemicals into certain areas of the brain, which can also cause some sort of overload. So there is a host of those physical things that, of course, affect everything else as well. So it is an entire package. But so yeah, it's a lot of it is with the time gone, really has to do mostly with what the physical ramifications of that are going to be.
Interesting. It's making me think about how, like, from an energetic perspective, thinking of people who have some, I don't know how to describe this, just like a marker almost on their aura from having that type of experience?
So, and I can go over energetically what the difference is between like a full transition and a near-death experience. So normally when we are watching somebody actively dying, what you'll see is kind of a constriction of your energetic bodies. So they kind of shrink down towards your physical body. So you'll start to see those start to shrink down first. Then your actual chakras, your energy centers. Normally they're kind of in a ball and they're cohesive. They kind of stay together. You'll see those kind of break apart and kind of dissipate a little bit. So they lose their cohesion. So they're not perfect energy centers. They kind of spread out. That starts at the root, from root to sacral to solar plexus. And so once the root starts to go, your physical body is really starting to let go of the physical world. It's not grounded into the earth anymore. So it's preparing to let go. Your heart is always the last chakra to go because it is your hugest energy center in your body. So the bottom chakras will start to lose their cohesion. Your upper chakras will do the same. And when you finally see the heart chakra start to go, you know that it's going to be soon. Once they all kind of lose their cohesion and spread out, they'll start to constrict back into your main channel, which connects all the chakras through the center of your body. They'll constrict down to that main channel and go up and out through your crown chakra. And that's normally how it happens during a regular transition. So you can imagine then, and that's a very smooth process, and it is an actual process that I can facilitate energetically to make it even more smooth. And so you can imagine then, so say somebody gets into a car accident and it's like, bam, their body literally pops out, their soul literally pops out of their body. You can see how traumatic that can be. Several things can happen at that point. I kind of see it almost as like sometimes the soul gets snagged. If you're talking like from a shamanic perspective, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to get into this at all, but as a shamanic practitioner, from a shamanic perspective, there's such thing as soul loss. So when the soul leaves the body, it can fragment. And in psychological terms, it's called dissociation, but it can fragment. And when it comes back, you may not get all those pieces back. So there may be pieces that are still lingering. And so as a shamanic practitioner, we'll do something called the soul retrieval to put those soul parts back and reintegrate them into the whole. But trauma in and of itself can cause a multitude of problems, either physically, energetically, spiritually, emotionally. So, yeah, it's usually that traumatic leaving of the body, unexpected, that causes the issues upon return, so to speak.
That's just incredible of how deep it goes, and it must be really difficult to have had a blissful experience paired with the traumatic physical and energetic ramifications of having an NDE on top. I'm just trying to grapple what that means in that.
Yeah, I was going to kind of comment on the same thing. Like, I've definitely read some people talking about how that have had, blissful experiences in the longing to go back. Like,
right.
And then that also makes me want to spurn off on another, like, how many other near-death experience people have you personally come in contact with? Like, is it common? Ish?
Well, the statistics on that is between 4 and 8% of the global population have had near-death experiences, and that is just nearly what has been reported or what people have documented. 4 to 8% of the global.
Fascinating.
So you can imagine that it's probably, I don't know, I'm not even going to guess, but it's much higher than that.
Significantly more, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just talking about how we were going to record this episode today, I found out that one of my coworkers has had a pretty significant near-death experience that she probably wouldn't have shared if I wouldn't have brought this up.
Exactly, because it's a lot of people really feel like they can, like they're safe in sharing that kind of thing. But you'd be surprised, like you said, once you bring it up, people's eyes get big and they're like, oh, let me tell you. And, they really do. It's like they've been holding on to this, waiting for somebody, for a safe place to really get it out there. So, yeah.
Wow.
So what are some ways that people who have had some of these traumatic near-death experiences can find healing and resolve some of these issues?
Right. So you have to understand that, especially after these types of things, the healing really needs to be a holistic type of thing. It needs to be body, mind, spirit. So, I'm a big, a lot of people don't like therapy, and, of all people, I should not, but I have, I've met along the way during my spiritual journey, I've met some very fantastic therapists that are spiritually minded. And so that would be like, first and foremost, you need to find a professional that you can work with, that you trust, that understands, that gets it. And they are out there. Because I have one myself right now. So she's fantastic. But also there's, you want to take care of that physical body as well. Poor physical body has been through a lot. And depending on how, whatever damage it has sustained, there's going to be that kind of recovery time, especially, like I said, I keep going to car accident because that's kind of one of the main ones, and it causes the greatest amount of damage to the physical body. So you're going to have that recoup time after that. So you really want to make sure that the physical body is taken care of, diet is taken care of, supplements, whatever it is you need, sunlight, exercise, all that good stuff. There's energy work that we can do as well that can help, as Adriana said about the markers on your aura. So sometimes there'll be holes, it'll tear holes. It'll just, there'll be openings in your energy fields. So we can, work to correct that. We can work to, do chakra work, balancing, clearing, cleaning, everything is kind of operating the way it should be again. Also, energy work is great for anxiety, as you all know, I'm sure. It's great for anxiety. It's great for physical ailments. It's great for depression. You name it. Just having support really is probably the main one. Again, there are things out there. Not everybody subscribes to soul retrieval type stuff. It doesn't resonate with everybody, so that's fine too. But there's things like that available.
I was just getting ready to ask about that. Can you talk a little bit about the process of soul retrieval?
The process of soul retrieval. So during a soul retrieval, I do some prep work about, a week before we'll do some prep work, because what I do is I actually do a journey for the client, and I will enter into the lower world and journey for their soul parts, look for soul parts, see if I come across any and find them and retrieve them, and then I return them and integrate them back into the person. So that does require some prep work on the client's end, because you want to create a safe place to bring that soul part back, because you don't want it to flee again. You want it to be safe and secure and feel wanted, and be able to really integrate that. So the integration is probably more important than the actual journey to retrieve the soul. Integration afterwards is paramount, because if not, it's you're not going to hold on to it. You really want to create a safe place where it really integrates and becomes one with the whole.
So how do we integrate those things?
So how we integrate those things is I do some energy work with people afterwards, and they really have to, I like to involve like the week up before. So we'll do some energy work the week before to prepare energetically. I also like to do affirmations, because you need to be in that kind of that mind space where you're just like, this is me, I'm bringing me back home. And so you really have to be in that mental space. So we'll do like affirmations. It just depends on the person and where they're at with it. Some people need a little more kind of, that reinforcement. Others aren't. Others are, ready to go. But yeah, and then afterwards, it's more energy work and just more like kind of self-love, self-care kind of stuff, things like that, that would just, nurturing, that really makes you want to, love that part of you that just came home and keep it there.
So I have another like rabbit hole type question. Okay. If you have an NDE in a past life, can that affect you in like say your next life or like
Ooh.
Yeah.
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 Well, because so I'm thinking about like the same so with the soul retrieval. Like if you have had an NDE in a past life, can you fix that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, fascinating.
Because it's all done in the quantum field. In quantum field, there is
it's
no
all timeless. Yes.
Yes.
That was a good question.
Thank you.
So that just made me think about this, Annalisa. I had a past life reading to learn about some of my past lives, and I found out that the furthest past life that the person told me about, I had lived in the rainforest area. I don't know what part, but I was a 15, 16-year-old boy. I was very physically active. I was energetic, and I was climbing the side of a mountain. And I went to grab, my next spot where I was climbing, and I lost my grip and I fell. And I fell into the water. I broke my neck. I died instantly in that moment. And I fell into the water. And in that moment, I have now physical and energetic issues with my shoulder that every time I have a high anxiety moment, I start in pain in that shoulder, the same place that I was going to grab in that moment. I also am very afraid of jumping into water.
That's what I was going to say. I know you don't like to swim. Oh,
Right.
How fascinating.
Yes. So those are energetic imprints that you do carry from past lives. And yes, indeed, those can be, you can go back and send healing to those and work at those from the source point for sure. Because like I said, it's timeless. Everything exists on top of each other. So, so yeah, that's definitely doable. That's something that we can, go back and either do Reiki work, energy work, shamanic work with, to clear those things up. Anything that you work on in this lifetime and you heal in this lifetime actually has an effect that goes back. It travels backwards. So your healing that you're creating in this lifetime travels backwards to past lifetimes. It also travels down your lineage and your bloodline as well.
Wow.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. Wow. Just getting cold chills.
Oh man.
All right. Yeah, you absorb. You're okay. Y'all okay.
It's just certainly not something that you give. I certainly have never given much thought to it because it has never happened to me. But I mean, I imagine for you probably think of it quite frequently.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny because once I actually started acknowledging it for what it was and accepting it, it's kind of like shadow work. You have to accept it, acknowledge it, love it, so you can integrate it. So once I stopped trying to push it away and make it separate from myself and actually integrating it into who I am and how I live my life now, and once I started doing that, you'd be surprised that it does pop up. It does pop up in your life. You do run into people, at the grocery store or, whatever. And you really create these wonderful interactions with them because it's almost like you're kind of put in that position once you've accepted that this is a part of you. It was just something that happened. It's, it doesn't necessarily define you. And you can't make it separate from yourself. So it has become a big part of my life, and I do run into lots of people and talk about it quite often now. I think it's just a byproduct of the integration, really.
Do you find that as it gets closer to the veil thinning that people are either talking about it more or it's happening more frequently around this time? Or who knows?
I think I was talking to Becky about this earlier. I don't have any like hard and fast statistics or like scientific data, but I have noticed that more of these do occur during times when the veil is quote unquote thinner. It's almost like it facilitates it a little bit easier. I think what I think happens is that because the veil is thin, you can go there and back easier. So the cord isn't severed. But like I said, I don't have any hard and fast scientific data to back that up. But it does seem to, the people that I've talked to, it does kind of seem to happen around this time of year, or at the beginning of the year as well. So that's when mine happened. So
I would say you're the most reliable source. We certainly know.
The only thing I know these days is I don't know anything about anything. The only thing I know.
You're a student of life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Well, and you may not have had, anyway, I'm just going to ask. So I'm wondering if people who are coming to the end of their life who have had an NDE prior, does it make that transition easier, harder?
It all depends on the person. It really does. And it depends on kind of the work that they've done surrounding a near-death experience before that, where they're at in their life when they're actually transitioning. I mean, it has to do with a lot of different factors. And a lot of it has to do just where they're at the time of end of life, really. And I think I talked about in the last interview about, the kind of end of life review and all that, and working through some of the issues. That's one of the big things that we do, is making sure that people are able to work through some of these issues. So it does make that transition smoother and easier. Because guilt can do a great many things to people, so can shame and regret and all those heavy, dense emotions, and so a lot of the work we do is trying to tease through some of that and lightening that up for them to make that transition smoother. So it really just depends on the individual.
I'll show you. Now, I am just full of questions, but I wonder, since y'all are in this office, what experiences animals must be having when they have these experiences?
They experience the same exact thing.
Good heavens.
Oh, wow.
Because it's energy, it's energetics. So they experience the same exact thing. Now, they don't process it, of course, the same way that we do, because we have different tools for that. And so, but yes, they do.
Life is wild.
I had never thought about that. I mean, like, obviously I've thought about like animals and death, but like, as far as like animals and NDEs, like that's being in the field that I am, like, I've obviously literally been part of bringing them back from the brink, and like I've never seen anyone in that situation, but certainly, you see it on TV and all that like shock moment of like, it does kind of happen like that sometimes. And I've never really thought about what that must feel like.
I really, I've seen it a lot with animals coming out of anesthesia and sedation.
Totally.
I, in my mind, assume that it must be kind of similar because I feel their energy shifting.
Yes.
Like the state
Absolutely.
from being like that to waking up and becoming more conscious and things like that.
Because that's also in humans as well. When we undergo anesthesia, we can leave our body too. So that also comes into the soul retrieval. I've done a couple of soul retrievals for people who had undergone anesthesia. So it's any time that your body kind of leaves without intent, basically. Yeah. But yes, animals they do experience the same exact things we do. They just kind of don't process them exactly the same because, like I said, we have different tools, but you feel those energy shifts. Right. And you can actually see when they are close to transitioning, their energetic process is exactly the same.
Oh man. Yeah. That's been one of the wildest things that I've experienced over the past couple of years. And it's been just like small birds that I see on the road or something like that. And just noticing it's that shift is so potent if you're in tune to it, between like you can feel the different stages and how the energy feels stuck, the air feels stuck sometimes, and how there's a moment where there's a franticness as well. And oh gosh.
Absolutely. And that's where I'm a big fan of being able to do energy work and offer energy work at end of life, because it does kind of smooth out some of those issues. So yeah.
I feel like it's a very special time to be with a being, no matter what they are, is when they're passing.
Absolutely. It's for me, it's sacred, you know. There is no great, I think it's, for me, because of this is my passion and this is what I do, is the most sacred time in a person's life, honestly.
Do you think that you would be doing this if you hadn't had these experiences?
I actually did this before, so I always sat bedside with. I was born pretty much with a pretty good set of gifts, and like I said, the near-death experience pretty much expanded upon that. But yeah, I was always the one who ended up, even as a kid, sitting with the transitioning adults and things like that, and the pets and the stray cats that we had in the yard, and so. And then, like I said, it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I found out that was actually a thing. I'm like, oh my God, Death Doula. Yeah, so.
The thing I do has a name.
I know, exactly. I was like, I'm not a weirdo, really.
So when you are doing your helping people who have gone through NDEs and doing these retrievals, what is your aftercare like? I'm always interested to know how practitioners take care of themselves post like these big things that they do.
Well, I like to do it depending on the type of work that I'm doing, especially if it's like a soul retrieval. I do my own prep work, which is just a lot of energy work, a lot of meditation, grounding, protecting, clearing. I really wanted to make sure that I'm just a completely clear channel. And then afterwards, aftercare for me, it just depends. Clearing, you have to do a lot of energy clearing after a soul retrieval. I personally do. Not everybody may not have to, but that's something I do. Probably more so than like an energy healing session. Cutting cords, you're doing all of that. You don't want to make sure that there's no connection between you and the energies that you've encountered during the session. So I call in angels and things like that for protection, my ancestors, my guides, and all those guys all come along with me. I have my entire, I call them my soul legion, come with me and protect me and watch. But then there's also, of course, everybody says drink lots of water, and how many people really listen to us when we tell you that?
Really drink your fucking water.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying, because you don't realize that when you're doing energetic stuff, water is a conductor of energy. Okay, so the more water you drink, the freer the energy is going to flow in your body. It just helps you out a little bit. Help your body out. So yes, you need to hydrate. You need to eat well. I try not to eat meat at all. I'm mostly pescatarian, but I try not to eat meat at all like a week before, just to kind of really make that my channel completely clear. Down on sugar, because sugar also interrupts energy flow. Sugar, meats, heavy meats, things like that, tobacco, any kinds of substances, which I don't really do too much anymore. But so all that kind of cut out, and then the same afterwards. Kind of just making sure that my body is healthy, putting healthy things into it. Hydrating is most important. And then, of course, like I said, spiritual hygiene, doing your clean, cleansing, of cord cutting, things like that. So you just kind of beef up on what I just beef up on what I normally do.
What are you studying right now? Is there anything between since the last time that we talked? Like, you're always up to something fun.
Well, I'm actually right now, I just done kind of like the introductory portion of my shamanic, Irish shamanic training, and the actual course is beginning November 1st. So it's year-long training for that. I do have mostly Indian practices, and some do have some Irish Celtic practices that I've been trained in as well. Of course, soul retrieval, things like that. But this is more deep, digging deeper into my lineage and into our practices of Ireland. So it's going to be a year-long training, a little bit advanced shamanic training.
So when are you going to Ireland?
When am I going to Ireland?
Yeah.
Well, supposedly I was supposed to move to Ireland by the time I turned 50, which is in 3 years.
Well,
I don't know.
There's still plenty of time.
Things happen along the way.
right.
You meet people and you don't want to leave. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Can at least go and check it out.
Oh, I plan to.
Yeah. I know that's always been your dream.
Absolutely. I will at least set foot there, and yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, Lori, you are just one of the coolest people.
So making me blush.
I want to jump back to a throwback question since you pulled back a throwback there. What are your magical aspirations?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you gotta ask.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Those have kind of changed actually since last time. Yeah, this has been a crazy, I can't even tell you how crazy a journey it has been. Even just since the last podcast, really.
Yeah.
Dealing with some Kundalini awakening stuff and divine counterpart stuff. And so I'm kind of really wanting to help people through those kinds of situations right now. Really focusing on my shamanic training so that way I can add more tools to my toolbox to help, help people with all these issues that they're going through. So yeah, I think my aspirations are a little more laser focused these days. So I'm really more locked into what it is I need to be doing or should be doing or supposed to be doing. But yeah, so it's really just kind of doubling down on my passions and the things that I can speak about personally, such as near-death experiences, suicide attempts, things like that. It's really starting to laser focus me into those aspects and those areas. So,
oh, that's really cool.
Yes.
That I feel like that's the mark of any good witch or magical person, is that we're always healing, we're always learning, and we're definitely always moving.
Absolutely.
Maybe not forward, but we're always moving.
We're always moving.
Always moving. Maybe it could be in circles sometimes.
Exactly. I might be oscillating in place and feeling crazy, but at least I'm moving.
Exactly. So yeah. Just like a fish. Right. Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Well, I don't think I have any more questions for Lori about this particular topic.
Right.
Oh dear, did I open more doors on that one?
I was going to say, if we are going to stay on death and the near-death experiences, I think that those are my key questions.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you for coming on and putting your vulnerability pants on. That,
I'm all about the vulnerability these days. So, because that's, if I'm not vulnerable enough to share my truths and things like that, how do I expect anybody else to open
Preach.
up?
Yeah.
Mic drop. Boom.
Yep.
End of episode. That's it, peeps.
Yes.
Peace out.
Well,
I just want to say that
Lori,
I feel really blessed to have met Lori on my point in my journey, and that we have become really close over the last 3 years. It's been really cool to see her growth and development and my growth and development.
Absolutely.
And us being able to help each other learn and grow.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been really cool.
It's been an honor. The honor has been mine.
Oh,
You cry. You know, misty-eyed.
Yeah. When we first met, of course, it was because of a dog.
Yeah,
Of course.
of course.
of course. There was a dog involved.
Right. The most handsome, Watson, her bulldog.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I know you like rocks. Adam and I are going to be selling rocks at this event. You should come. No, it was really the first time we got to hang out like outside of the work type environment.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And everything has just kind of grown and developed and snowballed.
You did massage for Watson.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, because I had just rescued him, and he had some, kind of PTSD issues.
Mm-hmm.
She helped him.
Oh, sweet boy.
I love that.
Yeah. So we were brought together divinely by a dog.
Absolutely. It's always
Naturally.
It's usually a dog has involved some
As every great love story starts.
as it should.
As it should.
I'll give a shout out to the cat
Beautiful.
owners out there too. So
Right.
all good. Love you all.
It's
Love
true.
everyone. I have a cat too, so my little Empress Meow. So y'all good. Well, all the love. Y'all love y'all.
All the love to all the animals.
Exactly.
We're going to get to the animal episode soon enough, people. We're just,
yes.
the three of us, we take it very seriously. So we just want to make sure it's extra good.
I have a feeling it will be. It'll be over the top. For sure.
Total two-parter for sure.
Maybe.
I'm saying 3.
Yes.
I like it.
There's 3 of you.
I'm not
I'm here
opposed.
for
Per series.
I'm not opposed.
Right. Yes.
All right, ladies.
Let's close her out.
Close it out.
Thank you, Lori, times a million.
Yes.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate it. Love
Absolutely.
you all. Love you very much.
And if you're listening, be sure to go check out Lori. We'll be sure to link all her things, of course, in all the places. So
Yeah.
just go
I don't
support.
hide. Y'all can find me.
And with that, y'all have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Love y'all. Stay magical.
Guys, stay magical.
Much love.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Magical Aspirations. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Magical Aspirations to keep up with the latest and the greatest from Annalisa, Adriana, and Reverend Raven, and to join in on the Magical Aspirations conversations. Come check out our website, magicalaspirations.com, to find bonuses from our guests, our Magical Aspirations blog, and to reach out to our magical hosts with questions, comments, reviews, or ideas for future episodes. We are so grateful for each and every one of you listening. Thank you again, and as always, stay true to your magic.